Welcome back, Red Spotters. I'm the Red Spotlight Podcast. I'm your host, Alexis Soto, joined by Mr. Peter Martinez, as I usually am. And today we are joined with a very special appearance by Mr. Kyle Lira, who is making his first appearance in 50 episodes. Today we are discussing No Time to Die, the latest film from James Bond, as well as other news happening with movies. Here on Red Spotlight number 351, bringing you all of the latest stories coming out of the world of movies. Kyle, what brings you here? This is your first appearance in 50 episodes.
I guess my appearance after 50 episodes is quite shaken, not stirred.
Yeah, and I'm over it now. I will say, Kyle, in your absence, we have done nothing but speak highly of you and our sister podcast, The Fantasy Fair.
I'm sure of it, Mr. Martinez. I'm sure of it.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Speaking of the Fantasy Fair podcast, it's a great time to plug our recent 2-part review of the trip to the most the happiest place on Earth, Disneyland.
It's not really a review. It's more of like a travelogue episode, but you don't get to see the pictures on screen.
See, you just sold it in the worst way possible. That sounded terrible.
You're welcome.
So, yeah, I listened to the Fantasy Fair podcast. It's there as well as To the Table. Peter and I have been doing reviews for horror-themed movies, of course, to accompany the season that we're in. So stay tuned for those. And, you know, speaking of, Mr. Martinez just came back, I believe from a week ago or so, from Halloween Horror Nights, the first time he's gone back in 2 years, if I'm not mistaken. How did it go, Peter?
It was great. I had mucho fun. It was surprisingly packed, I will say. A lot of people, but no, it's how I remembered. It was great. Oh, and for the first time they had the Harry Potter land open. And that was really cool because I always really like how that area looks at night, particularly the castle. And so it's really fun to walk around Hogsmeade at night.
What mazes were there?
What mazes were okay. Halloween 4, The Return of Michael Myers, The Texas Chainsaw Massacre, The Bride of Frankenstein Lives, The Purge. That was the horror tram theme. It was The Purge. What else? The Exorcist and The Haunting of Bly Manor. Oh, and then also an original one called like Pandora's Box, which was pretty cool.
Interesting. Yeah. What would be your favorite of all those?
My favorite? For me, well, there's 2 ways that I score the mazes. It's how scary they are and how much fun it is just living in the fucking horror movies come to life, you know? Like how just how fun they are, how cool they are to me. So of course I had a lot of fun looking at the Haunting of Hill House. Like just it's one of those things where it's like only at Horror Nights could you see something like this, like this fucking show be given this theme park fanfare. So that was cool. The Exorcism one was genuinely pretty fucking scary. That one was really cool.
It's amazing how like Universal Studios always gives like Netflix this big old platform to play around with.
I think it's because Netflix doesn't have theme parks, right? Like, who else do they have to work with? They're not going to work with Disney. They told Disney to get fucked. No. Yeah.
That's for damn sure.
So, yeah, no. And also,
I thought Disney told Netflix get fucked.
I thought Netflix told Disney get fucked. Whoever told who to get fucked, it doesn't matter. The point is, they are not on speaking terms.
Because the thing is that Disney was trying to, once upon a time before when Disney Plus was a
pipe dream.
a wet dream in Bob Iger's mind. He basically said, "Hey, why don't you and I collaborate with Netflix?" And he's like, Netflix, I get what I want, you get what you want, and we could make this one big ol' streaming conglomerate. What do you say, buddy? And then Netflix was like, fuck you.
Well, what really happens is Disney's just like, oh, is there a piece of the world we haven't conquered yet? Okay, we'll buy it.
I mean, yeah, that too.
And I guess it was a no-go at the end of the day. So yeah, and also I think the reason why Netflix collaborates with Universal Studios is it's also really good. What's the word? Marketing. It's good marketing for the shows and for Netflix. It's a win-win, as far as I'm concerned. But one of the coolest things I saw there had nothing to do with Horror Nights. I saw the skeleton of what will be Nintendo Land.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah, like they already have like the
what imagery did you see from
you
Nintendo?
Just sort of see the not the literal pipes like from the game. Mario? I mean like regular like the skeleton. You see the skeleton of like, this is going to be a hill, this is going to be this, this is going to be that, and then behind you they have like the background of like the green hills.
The green hills from the Mushroom Kingdom.
Yeah. You see that, and then like a big sign where the entrance is gonna be like blocked off, like Nintendo World coming soon or whatever. Which is really Mario World. It's not Nintendo. It's Mario.
No.
World. They should.
They're in Florida. They're adding a Donkey Kong Country.
Oh, okay. I guess
now.
That's okay. Maybe that's branching out a little bit, but no,
they're gonna do that, and there is rumors that they're developing because there's an adjacent land next to the Nintendo Land right there, and that is heavily speculated. I mean, nonchalantly, it's called the Hyrule Project.
Oh my god, fucking Florida! I hate that place. God damn it.
So they're going to have Zelda.
I'd much rather just get Hyrule instead of Mario Land, but but I mean, Mario Land's fucking cool as well.
Yeah.
So,
this is a non sequitur, but here we are. Did you hear what Chris Pratt had to say about
his Italian phobia?
Yeah, he basically said, "I'm not doing the Italian accent. Mario is normal." In those exact words.
That is some straight A Italian phobia right there. That's fucking hilarious.
That's anti-Italian discrimination.
I'm not doing the accent. I'm not some freak. That's basically what he said.
Yeah, I mean, you're not wrong.
Well, here we go.
Okay, speaking of Mario, like, it's so bizarre. How can you cast Charlie Day as Luigi, but not cast Danny DeVito as Mario?
I feel like they already went that route with Bob Hoskins, and it didn't go well. Plus, it's Illumination. They just get A-list cast. They don't think about it. But yeah, that was my time at Horror Nights. It was awesome. I love it.
Did you enjoy the butterbeer more this time?
I did. You know what? I did. I don't know why. And I have a more aged tongue, I guess. But I ended up enjoying it, and I was really in the. It was I honestly think it's so cool just seeing it at night. I was really in the plus the ride's really cool. The Harry Potter one. I was in the
Forbidden Journey?
Yeah, it's cool.
You know what? Maybe your evolution of your palate has let's call it the pandemic palate.
No, maybe. But I was like going through the stores, I'm like, maybe I should get a wand. And I was looking because the wands, they're cool, right? It's just what you do when you go. And I would like I'll get I usually the only souvenir I usually get is like the poster, because it's a big thing, and it's like you can put them on a wall, and you see all the years, right, from 2017 to 2021 minus 2020.
Or in your case, put it in a box where it can't be seen.
Yes.
But I did see the poster for the new Horror Nights, and it was pretty beautiful. Too
It's
bad
cool,
it'll
right?
never see the light of day.
No, but it's about hope. But I was like, you know what? Let me get a wand. Those things are fucking $60.
Yeah,
Like,
Hey,
before
that is
tax.
that's a steal compared to the lightsabers.
The lightsabers, yeah. Galaxy's Edge.
Those, what are they, like $200 or some shit?
Yeah, $200
$210.
plus tax.
Yeah,
The-
$210 with tax or $215.
The thing is, I couldn't, in my head, like convince myself to spend $60+ on a piece of plastic stick. I couldn't do it. If it was like 30, I could have done it, but 60, so I didn't get it. But yeah, it was fun. I really liked it.
But you're supporting that turf, remember?
I
Wait, what about Dave Chappelle?
Oh,
Yeah.
Best caller.
Dave Chappelle became J.K. Rowling's #1 fan apparently over the weekend.
That's the discourse, isn't it?
Yeah. I have no interest in going in there right now. Just wanted to put that
me
out
neither.
there.
It's
No, but it's funny. It's funny to bring up sometimes.
Sure.
Sometimes.
All right, let's go ahead and get into what we saw this week. Peter, since we were, I guess we could include in like what you did this week. So what else have you been watching that's not, already on the agenda for tonight?
God damn it. I forgot that we were going to do this, even though you told me in person like 5 times.
Literally not last night.
You know what? I've been watching, I will say that, because I have been watching it day to day.
Mm-hmm.
Not day to day, week to week. What We Do in the Shadows. The newest season.
Oh, wow. Okay.
It's so good. It is so, What We Do in the Shadows is, I think it's already in one of my favorite shows of all time. Which isn't surprising, I guess, considering the film is one of my favorites as well, but I don't know. I just love the show, and it's consistently funny, and the characters are just all-time greats for me. I just love them.
Something real quick, though, it's also on the same network, FX, and I believe it's also, attached to Taika Waititi.
Yeah.
It wasn't just you, but I also, been getting, Nettie and Eric told me in person, and even David here last week was raving about Reservation Dogs.
Oh, yeah. Did I tell you I watched that?
Yes, yeah. We discussed that, I think, last week or 2 weeks ago.
Yeah. So, yeah, that was... Reservation Dogs was cool.
Okay, Peter.
Yeah.
I'm almost done with season 1. Do you want to review it?
Well, sure. Yeah, let's get into it. Season 1. Let me pull up the... Oh, not right now. Later. Okay. Still yes.
Okay. All right.
But I'm surprised you haven't flown through it. It's because they're half hour. It's like 10 episodes a season. You can fly through that shit.
I know,
but I understand it's not Bond. I get it.
Or Disney.
What else? I did see the first season due to peer pressure of Ted Lasso. I don't know if we discussed that. Did we discuss that?
We did already.
Okay, fuck. What have I watched? Damn.
You want to talk about some comics you've read?
Does it matter if it's new? It doesn't matter if it's new, right? If I've watched
it never does. It never does.
Oh, okay. Because speaking of, I think I told you this because I went with my girlfriend to go. We're the ones. Me and her went to Horror Nights. They were selling butterbeer like bottled, right? Like a 6-pack, whatever, of like the bottles. We did get that, and we were like, oh, like Harry Potter marathon. So we watched so far we've only watched the first 2, which is Philosopher's Stone and Chamber of Secrets. And
you really had to drop that Philosopher's Stone on there?
I call it that as well.
That's the name of the book. It ain't the name of the movie, though. It's
not?
No.
No.
Okay, here's the thing. Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Not
outside
here.
of the U.S. Outside of the United
here?
States. It's called the Sorcerer's Stone here.
Oh, okay. I grew up reading the books first. So I forget sometimes. Okay, fine.
The reason why it's called the Sorcerer's Stone is because they were afraid that Americans, to their credit, won't understand what a philosopher is.
They should have called it the Kick-Ass Megadeth Stone.
They'll be like, this Harry Potter kid, he's onto something.
Maybe they would have gotten more of the Christians on board at the time. Jesus Stone.
So you did. So you watched the first two Harry Potter movies. I mean, that's pretty much an entire day because those are.
Oh my god! I forgot how fucking long they were. Oh my god. But you know what? And I told Alexis this. Like after I watched them, I was like, "Fuck! They just don't make them like that anymore." They were so good. Upon rewatching them, but like from the costumes to the music to just the storytelling, it's just such wonderful, just escapism. It's so good.
Chamber of Secrets, last time I watched it, I was surprised at how funny it was.
Yeah, a lot of they did lean more into the humor in the second one. And something I didn't think about at the time, but looking back, it's kind of going off a little bit, but like what was the new one, the new play that J.K. Rowling put out?
Oh, The Cursed Child.
The Cursed Child. Okay. That's kind of contentious, I guess, with a lot of people, The Cursed Child. I haven't read it nor seen the play. Like I kind of have bullet points of the story, but not completely. But
I read it.
Okay.
I read it, and it's everything that you'll hate.
Okay. Well, okay. But I heard someone say once that the reason why it didn't work was because if you actually look at the heart of Harry Potter is it's a mystery series. And as a kid to an adult, I never noticed that, but it is. Like every story is a mystery. Like what is the Philosopher's Stone and who is trying to get it? That's the whole first movie of the kids trying to uncover that mystery. And that's the same thing for the second one. What is the Chamber of Secrets and who has opened it? And the whole story revolves around trying to reveal that mystery. And then the same with Prisoner of Azkaban and all the whole films, right? Even up until the last one where you get the whole Horcrux and the fucking the three, I forgot what they were called. It's been so long. The story.
The three brothers.
That whole thing.
Yeah.
But like, rewatching it I had that in my head, and I'm like, oh my god, that's so true. These are mystery films, and that's what makes them so fun. That's what makes them work.
This conversation that we're having, like, it just reminds me of like this passion that I have for Harry Potter and like the books and all that stuff. It just makes me feel bad talking about it.
I mean, if we can celebrate James Bond, I mean, I don't know. Come on, man.
Okay.
Oh, we'll get to that.
We'll get to that. I can talk about some comics I read. Right now I'm reading Superior Spider-Man, it's actually a really fun idea. It's when Doc Ock was dying, and his final trick was basically he swapped bodies with Peter Parker, and Peter Parker ended up dying, and he became the new Spider-Man, calling himself the Superior Spider-Man. And his whole thing was, I am going to prove that I am a better Spider-Man than Peter Parker ever was.
Petty little bitch.
Yeah. and no one knows it, but it's interesting because in some ways he absolutely is a better Spider-Man. Like, he's more efficient and he's more like dogmatic and like by the numbers. So like he'll pass petty thieves and be like, the police can take care of that. Like, that's none of my concern. I have bigger fish to fry. And like, it's cool. It's fun. Like this sort of alternate sort of thing. What else?
How many issues are there? I've heard of this storyline, but I don't know how many issues there are.
There's like 6 volumes, and each volume has about 5 issues. So like 30 issues, I would say.
All right.
But it's really cool. But yeah, I don't want to take up too much time. That's basically what I've been reading. So yeah.
Anything else?
No, I'm good. Who's next? I talked a lot. Who's next?
Kyle, you want to go next?
Okay, so I've been reading a story. Well, not reading because my eyes need to be on like the computer grading and all that stuff when I'm doing things. But while I'm
Did
doing
Jesus die on the cross? Yes.
No. Okay, so when I've been listening to Dave Grohl's new book called The Storyteller. It's really, really good. It's giving like an insight of like early grunge that like, because he was like, figuratively boots on the ground, the grunge era, he was there to like see it. I mean, he was in fucking Nirvana for God's sakes, because, and so like him discussing like all that stuff, and he goes by like almost the entire book without even once mentioning Foo Fighters, which I find really fascinating, like getting more into like, because I know about him and Nirvana and all that stuff, and I know about him being in Foo Fighters, but like getting to know like his more earlier history, like what it was like to be raised by a very conservative father and a very liberal mother. Like it's just like that weird dichotomy, and just how that shaped how he dove into the grunge scene in the first place. So that was really interesting to watch. I mean, I listened to. And also it's read by him, it's read by
so
Dave.
He did the reading. How many hours is it?
It's not that long. It's like 8 hours. It's like not 8 hours. It's like 7 hours.
Oh, so it's kind of a small book then.
Yeah, it's like that thick of a book, but it's really good. Like getting into what he's known. 2 weeks ago I saw Barb and Star
you
go
did?
to Vista Del Mar. Yeah,
Finally.
I was expecting one movie and I got another. I thought it
right. Like on its surface, it seems like kind of an annoying piece of shit. But it's not that.
I thought it was going to be a complete, like, run-of-the-mill, like, buddy comedy, that you see nowadays. Like an SNL rejected thing, But, like, no, it's actually more than that. It's got... It honestly, like... I've never dropped acid before, and nor do I need to anymore because of the fact that I watched that movie. I mean, it's just that... fucking bonkers. Jamie Dornan has a fucking what's it called? Music number. Yeah, that blew my mind.
He was actually really good at this.
Because I was like, what is he doing? And then my mom turns to me and she says, I'm not seeing Christian Grey the same way anymore.
You know what? I agree. He is sexier now. Okay. Much, much more so. I mean, speaking of a man named Bond, it somewhat reminded me of the Austin Powers films.
It did, because of like the evil plot, the evil hint, and all that stuff. I wasn't even expecting an evil plot. I thought that this would probably be like a metaphor that would be playing into Star's mind. But actually it was actually something more than that. And the chemistry between Kristen Wiig and I forget the name of who played Barb, but their chemistry is absolutely fantastic.
Annette Mumolo. No, Annie Mumolo.
Annie Mumolo. Okay.
Annie
He's
Mumolo.
staring at his signed Blu-ray copy right now.
Yeah. So many fun like little bits in the whole movie, and it was actually, I really loved it. The lounge singer just like overtly sexual.
Yeah.
There were so many things about that movie that just like randomly, it's like that was funny. The whole Palm Beach song that Jamie Dornan sang should win Best Original Song at the Oscars if there's any justice.
Yeah,
The
and
one
he
where
should have to perform it live.
Right, he better fucking perform it live.
the Palm Hotel number was
yeah.
absolutely well choreographed, and I absolutely dug that. It was mwah.
The Morgan Freeman crab.
Yeah, because I'm Morgan Freeman. Just so overtly saying it.
Tommy Bahama.
Tommy Bahama played by, and yeah, my mom swooned when it was like, oh, Andy. And I was like, oh God.
The culottes.
But it was a fun time. It was a really fun time. I really enjoyed that movie. I saw another movie leading up to the events of last week, because last week for me was pretty much James Bond week.
Oh boy!
To celebrate, I went back and watched some Craig films. I watched a few. I saw a Roger Moore, and then I saw a Connery, and then I saw the documentary Being James Bond.
See, he says he doesn't have time to watch a lot of things, and then he watched like 10 James Bond films.
Like four James Bond movies, including a documentary.
It's 5.
Okay, but the documentary was really good. It was Daniel Craig's like perspective on the whole thing. Like he's actually narrating throughout the whole entire thing.
Is it just him bitching and moaning the whole time?
No, he was talking about like the struggles that he had taking on the role. It talked about like how like in Quantum of Solace they were in the middle of a writer's strike, so they pretty much had to make it up as they went along.
Oh, that's right, the writer's strike.
Yeah, and also how he sustained multiple injuries, just doing that. The fact that they went, like, his name shouldn't be Blonde James Bond. It should be, Bond James Bond. Just the fact that he was blonde and all that stuff. And then it had Barbara and Michael chime in, like saying, like, we knew that he was right for the role because of all that stuff. And then it led to a very emotional part where he filmed his last scene for No Time to Die. And like he's saying the best part about being James Bond was making this ginormous family that I didn't even know that I would have, and he started crying, and Barbara Broccoli, came up and gave him a hug, and they embraced, and it's a nice little companion piece to No Time to Die because of that, so yeah, it's on Apple TV if you want to watch it. I think it's going to come to Prime pretty soon for those who don't have.
You have Apple TV?
Apple TV. I have my sources.
You have Apple TV, and yet you've not found time to watch The Father or... Okay, I'm not going to go there.
You already know where it's going to end up.
It's a useless conversation to have. You mentioned Kyle was talking to me about Barb and Star the other day, and evidently, apparently, because Reba has a cameo at the end of the film, that's the only reason that's why I love the movie. Which
it's a joke. It's a joke because
I know.
Watching it with my mom, she turns to me and she says, when Reba shows up, she's like, so that's why he likes the movie.
So predictable.
Predictable, right? So, Kyle, your mom is a fan of Reba, and then also Peter's girlfriend Lexi is also a big fan of Reba. So, interesting connections there.
Of Reba.
Oh yeah. So what? I got a couple of different things on the topic of music. Reba did a compilation this week of what is it called? Revived, Remixed, Revisited. I think it was what it's called. It's basically old songs re-recorded, different versions of it, and so that was fun to listen to. Also, Tony Bennett is back with his final album with Lady Gaga, Love for Sale. He recorded this 95 years of age and with Alzheimer's, and he sounds spectacular. So I was talking to Julio about it yesterday. He was actually unaware that there was another record. And he's a big fan of the original Cheek to Cheek record that they did back in 2014. And
I'm sure you introduced it to him.
Yeah, of course I did. And he was like, oh, I got to get on this right now. I was actually watching right now a special concert that Gaga did a few weeks ago, actually. I think it was sponsored by Westfield Mall or something. And it was like broadcast worldwide. And she was doing it was a whole jazz concert. And so it was just her by herself. Tony can't perform anymore. So she was doing it. And she's fantastic. I watched documentary. It was okay. It was funny at times, but I mean, it's not worthwhile. But it kind of was recommended. When you see on YouTube and everything, it's literally called a movie about movie posters. So go figure. I think I spoke to Peter about this.
Mm-hmm.
It's basically diving into the history of how posters were used for marketing old movies, and then how that's kind of evolved to where we are right now. And it's been it's been brought up on occasion throughout all these years of podcasting about the frequent lackluster theatrical posters for a lot of the big movies these days, blockbusters and even smaller films alike. Remember a few years back, Peter and Kyle, this was 2017, I think, and we spent a good 10-15 minutes debating the Last Jedi poster.
Did we?
Remember that? Yeah, Kyle didn't like it at first.
Oh.
And then you were going after him hard. It's like, well, why?
Well,
As
this
Peter
is the thing.
would.
When people have wrong opinions, sometimes I get a little testy.
Overly passionate at that.
Yeah.
So, the thing about this film that I found most intriguing is how did we get in this position where, a lot of the final theatrical one sheets, as they're called, the posters used in the theaters, how do they end up being so
Ugly.
Yeah, for lack of a better word. And there was this clip that I shared with you, Peter, in that this particular artist was at a convention, and he was recounting a story that he got from Drew Struzan. And that is Guillermo commissioned a poster for the original Hellboy by Drew Struzan. And, it was beautiful and everything. They even showed it, the actual, it's on Google if you want to go look it up. It's a beautiful poster. And Guillermo was convinced, this is the poster we're going to use for the movie and everything. And Drew told him, you're about to find out how little power you actually have. And of course, they did not end up using that poster whatsoever. And then ultimately, where did all this go to is a couple years later when Hellboy 2, the marketing was, ramping up. Drew Struzan also had a commission piece for Hellboy 2, which looked so, so beautiful. And I think someone from the movie Hellboy 2 was asked during a Comic-Con panel about, okay, so I just saw this Drew
Guillermo
Struzan.
was asked.
Guillermo, yeah, sure. He was asked about this beautiful Drew Struzan poster. Are you going to use that? Is that going to be the official poster for the movie? And Guillermo, I believe, responded to the effect of, no, they said no because it looks too much like art. and what they found is it wasn't just that one little sentence, because they actually dove a little deeper into it by bringing in actual focus groups. And what they actually found is that studios have found in their own focus groups is the more a poster resembles a piece of art, the more focus groups and general audiences think that's an animated movie, and it turns them off. And that is the reason for why we are in the position that we're in right now. And inconsistently also in those focus groups, they found that the same people, which is the most people who were turning away from the artist posters that look like animated movies, I guess, I don't know, they actually really like the whole floating heads or the overtly photoshopped look of it.
I hate people. Okay. Jesus. I don't even know what to say. Is it it? It can't be though, because for sure they market at all ages. At first I was gonna say is it an age thing? And I don't know. Fucking shit. Okay. Whatever. I don't see. You always like to make me angry. God damn it.
But here's the thing that doesn't make sense to me either is that, there are some instances where the most robust photography is taken of and is used as like teaser material or as like other material, sometimes the main what's it called, the main poster of the film, like for example the Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 poster, they took a picture at the back of the
which poster?
The teaser poster.
Mm.
I'm gonna describe it to you. Okay, so they took at the back of the stage that they were filming at. They had the whole cast there coincidentally, and they snapped a picture. And ironically enough, like it gave off Ramones vibes, and so like music and Guardians of the Galaxy, it goes hand in hand. And so you have that black and white image of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 of the entire cast, and yet that's the best poster that movie had, and it had all the cast, and you could tell that it wasn't an animated picture, but yet, it's not the main theatrical,
No.
picture, which it's still, boggles my mind why it's not, but just like those little details, the little candid photo of Daniel Craig at the poker table for Casino Royale used as a teaser poster. I think that is one of the most gorgeous James Bond posters ever, and they're until Brosnan's era, they really leaned into like using art and using drawings and using paintings as a thing.
Well,
but
all movies did at that time, and all movies
awesome.
did, the 80s and everything, right? Yeah. That was the height of movie posters,
like
theatrical anyway.
Like I think like first thing that comes to mind is like American Graffiti and that nice little like sketchbook kind of esque look to the poster is really nice. There's rare instances where like that bleeds through. Like for example, the Moana poster of her going to the island with Maui and all that stuff. But anyway, yeah, it is frustrating.
So that's on YouTube for those that want to see it. Something else that I've also seen, at one point we were thinking of doing a review on this, but I think I'll just save us the trouble of it. And if you want to hear more about it, you can always check out the Fantasy Fair podcast, which they'll be doing it imminently. And that is, what is it called again? The Muppets Haunted Mansion?
Muppets Haunted Mansion, yes.
Mm-hmm. I was talking about this with Peter yesterday, not in any kind of depth, but he more or less got my reaction to it. And then I told him what you said, Kyle. I believe that's what you were referencing when you said that's an hour of my life I'm not getting back.
Mm-hmm.
Which is pretty harsh, all things considered, and I think pretty accurate. This was the initial disappointment was that this was not a movie. This was a TV special for all intents and purposes. Mm-hmm. And the first red flag you see when you're on the Disney Plus page is the runtime, like 94 minutes.
No, it's 54 minutes.
Oh yeah, 54 minutes. It's not even an hour.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
I was expecting like it was gonna
movie
be
length
and all that stuff, and plus like it looked like a lot of things were like an afterthought as well, like graphics wise and all that stuff. And I was just like, if you're gonna do Muppets Haunted Mansion, do it right. Why did Disney? Why are you once again fucking over the Muppets? I don't understand it.
I thought it was pretty weak. I think that's generally speaking my impressions of it. It was weak. There were many moments where you saw the potential of what this could be, but it was just like squandered at every turn. The songs were pretty subpar for Muppets. The jokes in them of themselves were pretty much Muppet standard, although nothing really too new here. I think what really hurt this, it seemed rushed. It seemed like there was like little thought put into it by two different things. I mean, look how short it is. And then on top of the fact that there really isn't a set here. It's all just a bunch of like blue screen ugliness going on here, which just did it no favors. I didn't like this. And really? I love the Muppets. I love the Muppets. I love the Muppets 2011 film, and I was really pissed off to see a lot of people just like erase Muppets Most Wanted. I love that movie. It was a really great follow-up to the 2011 movie. I'm talking about film Twitter.
To be fair, I was one of those, but like I've grown to love it, so.
I mean, this weekend, while people were talking about Muppets Haunted Mansion, there were some people that were saying that it was the best like Muppets-related thing since the Muppets 2011 film.
Yeah, I saw a lot of people really like it.
I didn't.
Don't understand.
So what made it so bad? Was it like unfunny?
It was just weak, man. It's like it came together like nothing.
It was very stale. It was uninspired, and that's usually quite the opposite in standards of Muppets.
Uninspired, cheap, lazy, the bare minimum. Those are just what comes across my mind in terms of like every aspect of the movie.
It looked like they had a week to film it.
Basically,
wow.
It's It's of all the Muppets related things I've seen, it is far and away the worst thing I've seen as far as Muppets are concerned.
Mm-hmm.
Like the direct to DVD Muppets Wizard of Oz with Ashanti in the mid 2000s.
That was inspiring.
That was a masterpiece in comparison to this.
Okay, I'm probably just gonna ignore it then. I was kind of looking forward to it.
I was really excited about it, but it just didn't come together. And they really, it got a little on my nerves how much they really, half of the movie felt as if they were just like borrowing lines from the Haunted Mansion attraction.
Really?
Yeah, and like it felt like they had to adhere to the order of scenes that you see in the Haunted Mansion itself for the most part. And it's like, this feels a bit too IP for me. Like there really isn't a chance to really divorce from the original IP. Like it felt very much like it was mandated to, hey, this is about the Haunted Mansion in Disneyland, right?
And
let's remind you again.
Yeah, and the less the Muppet, references, the better, The only thing that I liked was which it was really off, tone wise, but the title card was the only thing I liked.
Yeah. It was kind of throwaway.
Well, you get what you pay for.
It's not even a movie. It's a TV special.
It sounds like a YouTube thing. Like,
sure,
that's what it comes off as.
Yeah.
I mean, it might as well be that,
Basically. Yeah, and there's really nothing to say. So that is talk about a massive disappointment. That's where it is. Also, the last thing I'll say here as far as what I've been watching, to really get myself in the, the Halloween season and everything, I have gone back for the first time. I think this is the first time I've seen them all back to back. I went back and rewatched them last week, the first 3 seasons of Stranger Things on Netflix. Like I don't think I know I rewatched the first season once, and I'm sure I rewatched the second season at some point, but I'm not sure I ever rewatched season 3, and I know I never rewatched them all back to back from 1 to 3. And my takeaway from this is a really good show, guys. I'm not sure if anyone's told you, but Stranger Things is pretty fucking great. And I feel like, I may have a rather controversial opinion, but I really feel like season 3 was kind of the best. I know,
really?
Shocker. Yeah, no, yeah.
I mean, yeah, wrong opinions are wrong.
From a character standpoint, I really did And even just from a story element, I don't know. I love all 3 seasons. I love them all. It's horror-ish, you know. It's horror-esque, where it's like it's not completely like overpowering and depressing, you know. It's also fun and exciting, and it kind of helps get in the Halloween season.
Whoa! Just because it's horror doesn't mean it's depressing. Like,
that wasn't what I was saying. I'm talking about this particular property is more than just like constant sadness happening. You know, there's actual, you know, moments of joy that really do sprinkle out here. Okay. And that's kind of what I was getting at. In short, I really do feel like I fell in love with the show all over again, and I really can't wait for season 4.
I don't know if you guys know about this. The actor who's playing Freddy Krueger is coming into the fold with Stranger Things season 4 that I'm really looking forward to. 'Cause I think Robert Englund is amazing.
Oh, they got Robert Englund?
Yeah, they got him.
Oh, wow.
They're doing a murder mystery with the Upside Down.
This is the thing. They should have done that since season 2. I feel like they should have went harder into different genres after the first season. But because like the second and third season, they're good, but they're kind of doing the same thing. And then with the 4th season, they're like, we got to do something different. So yeah, I think they're going to do something different. But yeah, I don't know. I like the show. Every time I watch it, I really like it. To me, the first season is the favorite. But every season I've watched, I walk away going like, I really enjoyed that. That's great.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
I think for me, like what really won me over with 3, I think it was the most emotional. There were a lot of great like emotional moments of the characters. In particular, that last episode, just a complete like sob fest, you know, with the big goodbyes and everything.
Yeah.
But I do appreciate though that there is going to be a concentrated effort to make season 4 feel completely new, which is exciting. Whenever that happens. Okay, let's go ahead and move on to the news before we get to the review. So, Marvel, as they say. This week, I guess the biggest news, because of course something else would have been ignored completely. Variety, WandaVision spinoff starring Kathryn Hahn in the works at Disney+. Hahn would reprise the role of Agatha Harkness in the series, which is described by sources as a dark comedy, though exact plot details remain under wraps. WandaVision head writer Jack Schaefer would serve as the writer and executive producer on the project. Should the spinoff go forward, and it will, it would be the first project Schaefer has set up with Marvel since she signed an overall deal with them and 20th Television in May. All right, so we're getting an Agatha Harkness Disney Plus series.
Honestly, to me, the more Kathryn Hahn, the better. You know, that's what I'm doing. That's where my mind is at right now. I'm on the couch sipping my Cosmopolitan, like Lucille Bluth, saying good for her. Because honestly, like, yeah, go ahead. I mean, she pretty much stole the show in WandaVision. So, I mean, obviously, like, it was like a no-brainer that this was going to happen. But yeah, like, for example, like Kathryn Hahn is playing Joan Rivers, and I'm actually like 100% on board with that scenario as well. So honestly, good for her. She's getting her own Marvel show. Good. Kathryn Hahn, let's do it.
I don't think anybody here disagrees that Kathryn Hahn is sensational as Agatha Harkness and that she was a highlight of WandaVision. And that personally for Kathryn Hahn, we're all very happy to see her finally getting her moment in this industry. Getting that out of the way with for Peter to come in here.
Yeah, I don't care. Sorry. Fuck everything about this. I can't even give a cheapish good for her on this one. I just don't care. Like, yes, the character was good and fun. Every time a character slightly hits with an audience, they don't need a spin-off.
Yeah.
They just don't. Just because a character worked for 10 minutes doesn't mean they will work in a 7-hour TV series. And this is the way. I don't know. I hate this mentality. I'm tired of this. There's already 50 Disney Plus series. Anyone that is slightly entertaining as a side character is going to be handed a Disney Plus show. And because it's going to directly connect into other shit, people are going to eat it up. And I don't care. I don't know. I don't care.
The thing that I'm not looking forward to, though, with this is the once the ball is rolling, all the Mephisto fan theories once again.
Knowing Kevin Feige, he'll make sure Mephisto's in the show.
Because then that begs the question, what are you going to do with that Agatha show? What story is there?
She's a witch. I don't know. They'll come up with something. There's always something you can do.
Yeah, to me, I feel completely with Peter on this. I don't see a story here. And what I do see is Bob Chapek cashing in even more on this and like, hey, this character is popular. This character is also really popular in the parks. Let's get more of her, and let's get more of her now. And they're fast tracking this show because it is a corporate mandated show. That's the only reason why this is happening. Which, to be fair, is the only reason the Disney Plus show isn't like WandaVision or Falcon happened in the first place. But in this particular instance, there doesn't appear to be any kind of organic story on the surface anyway that warrants all of a Disney Plus show, quite frankly. I'd love to see more of the character in other projects be interwoven in and out because she's that great. But like, are they going to do this thing again where, and this is another aspect where you have to think it's going to go there. Like, of course it does. Like, let's say for Loki, for instance, we have a villain, and we're gonna make him more sympathetic, where he's not really a villain anymore, but now Agatha's an anti-hero.
That I'm a little concerned with. That's the only aspect I would be concerned with. But I'm going into this expecting Miss Han to completely chew the scenery. Like, I expect there to be no show at the end of the run because of how much scenery she chewed.
On this note, it has not gone unnoticed, at least for me, that I've been, always looking out for these rumors and everything. But I think it also kind of speaks to Peter's concern. And that would be that there, while around the same time that this Harkness news was confirmed, there were these other rumors of the 10 Rings getting a Disney Plus show.
Okay.
Okay. Well, Shang-Chi has the 10 rings. Spoilers. But
I don't think it's about the literal 10 rings. I think
it's not about the 10 rings.
I know,
it's about...
but that's the only time that 10 rings should be brought up from here on out, because we've beat that dead horse so many times in the MCU already that it's kind of, it ran its course when it came to Iron Man 3, So this late in the game, I don't think that it should be any. I mean, it was well utilized in Shang-Chi, but I don't think that it needs to be further delved into.
But you see that Peter is completely right here, right? Because it sells the point even further that what's really going on here. Just today, I was just glancing through film Twitter and saw a rumor that Sharon Carter is getting her own show. Why? These characters don't warrant a show. There's nothing interesting to them to have to carry their own show.
Here's an idea. Maybe extend your series episodes instead of just 6 and mandated 6. Maybe expand that to maybe 10. So that way maybe you could have time with these characters, instead of rushing to the end. That's just an idea.
My thing is, though, from the beginning, you don't even need shows. You should be able to expand your characters well enough within film. There are plenty of films that have amazing character development. You don't need show. Like, I really hate this mentality that I see growing, where it's like, well, if you want to develop a character, give them a show. Like, I'm starting to see that now, and it's like, what the fuck? Like, films are storytelling devices. Like you can tell amazing character stories within one film. some of the greatest character stories ever told were within films. Like, there is so much storytelling you can do within the length of a film if you're not worried about all the other crap that seems mandatory within a Marvel film. It just doesn't. Nothing about this excites me. It just makes me roll my eyes and go, okay.
Yeah, I would say in general, like, television's a lot easier to craft development with characters because of the runtime that you have and the length of the medium. Whereas with films, you've got like a 2 hour, hour and a half even sometimes runtime to flesh out characters. But Peter is right. It can be done. Marvel doesn't do that though. And this mentality that, I guess, like, because, you know, with the shows that, and you've seen how Loki and Wanda and Sam have gotten actual characters. Some particular Marvel stans, shall we call them, have gotten the idea, well, this could only really be done with them in the shows because they really weren't important to the stories of the movies. And I feel that really, again, lets Kevin Feige and all the Marvel people off the hook for not, you know, because it absolutely could have been done. And even in the case with Agatha Harkness, with, like, you know, delving more into her, or I guess giving her more, maybe because this mentality that, oh, now that she'll be the center of attention, she'll be better even this time. And I would say to that, well, she could have been far better handled, thematically speaking, in WandaVision. We went over this again and again. There was still more you could do with her. They just chose not to. They just chose to make her the bad guy and the bad guy only in the end. Mm-hmm. Or very clearly could have been, like, easily interwoven to where, you know, she had a far more a complex approach to it, and it could have delved into Wanda's internal struggle of, like, which way is she going to turn, good or bad. It very well could have been that way and could have made her, you know, more memorable in that regard. But you didn't.
We had to cut to sword.
Mm-hmm.
Doing God knows what.
Mm-hmm.
As if they fucking mattered.
So, like, when you look at all of this, taking a step back with Agatha and maybe the possibility of a 10 Rings show, it's like it kind of begins to feel like the situation happening with Star Wars and Disney Plus shows, where they're all just the same and every character gets their own show, but they're doing the same things. And the whole point of it is to just expand the universe and connect to this and that.
I agree.
Something else Marvel related, Daredevil's coming back, not just in Spider-Man No Way Home, but evidently the spin-off series. So Hawkeye is getting a spin-off series. I didn't know this, but apparently it's called Echo. I don't know what that means or what that is.
It's like,
but it'll be
character. They're deaf.
Right.
It's like the opposite of Daredevil.
Right. So Echo is going to have a series, and these particular rumors come from more reputable sources, are saying that some of the Daredevil cast will have supporting roles in Echo. Vincent D'Onofrio as Wilson Fisk and Charlie Cox as Matt Murdock. And it even further spiraled into, at some point in 2024, I want to say, or 2025, whenever they get, you know, in the channel of production, they're going to resume, I believe, the Daredevil series on Disney Plus. How do we feel about that?
Now, that is a character with stories to tell. Proven by the fantastic 3 seasons, of which I have only seen 2. I think that's great, because this is the thing. You knew that they were going to pull these characters in no matter what. They were going to include these characters in the MCU when they got them back. I think the actors they got to portray those characters are pretty darn pitch perfect. For every one of them involved. So, why throw out the baby with the bathwater, right? If it works, it works. So yeah, I think that's a good move on their part.
Kyle?
As somebody who has watched the 3rd season.
Oh wow, this is the first thing. Oh my god. Okay.
How the turntables.
Yes, how the turntables.
But as somebody who has seen it, like, we need a fourth season. We need a fourth season because, like, things weren't wrapped at all at the end of the third season. So the fact that they get a they have the chance to finish off this story, maybe finishing it off. I don't know. Knowing Bob Chapek, it's probably going to be like a 7-season order, but but the fact that they do get to continue on this story, I think, is really good. And including the sheer just knowledge that they just barely introduced Bullseye as Bullseye at the very end of season 3, I think is just one of those things that I think is like the icing of the cake kind of thing. So the fact that they continued on with that, I think, just really adds to the whole like thing of why they need to do these things, in the beginning, in the first place. So I don't know.
Yeah.
And also, like you said, Peter, the cast is, Deborah Ann Woll, and Charlie Cox and, Vincent D'Onofrio. I mean, the whole cast is freaking amazing in Daredevil that it's such a shame to like end that magic that was, going on in, the 3 seasons. So I'm absolutely floored with the idea of them, continuing on the story in a new capacity.
As for me, I feel I've made my feelings on this abundantly clear, and I won't waste time with that. Next thing with Daredevil. Peter, do you still have any kind of concern when it comes to the R rating aspect? Or the lack of an R-ratedness when it comes to upcoming shows like Moon Knight and other stuff coming up with Blade? Yes. I know, I'm not sure, at some point we did not announce, but we talked about how, they are planning a whole horror section of the Marvel Disney Plus shows, which you seem to be the most excited about, at least anything, coming out of Marvel in the next few years. Where are you with that concern? Well, and do you think whatever they'll do on Disney Plus will feel like it did on Netflix?
I hope so. I feel like it won't, just because Disney is so set on doing their Disney thing. I mean, well, for me, Daredevil doesn't need to be rated R. Daredevil is dark, but it's not. It doesn't have to Deadpool? Be rated R. Dark, yeah. It does. There's nothing necessary about that. Now, if you're talking like The Punisher, yeah. For sure. If they're doing a series, if he just pops up in other people's movies, I don't think it has to be rated R. But if you try to give him his own series, yeah, I think so. Does it worry me that it might not be rated? Yeah, it does. Well, it's like the Deadpool thing, right? Like, can you make a really good PG-13 Deadpool? For sure. No, you can. I just don't care. I want a rated R one.
You see, but here's the thing. Here's the thing. When you... Okay, because I, just for shits and giggles, I saw Once Upon a Deadpool.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah, for shits and giggles, just to feel the vibe of what that scenario would be like in the future, and it does not gel well.
To be fair, that was made as a rated R film that was then edited down to be PG-13. Maybe I'm thinking more of like you start off in mind going like this is going to be PG-13, because I mean, again, the Deadpool character does appear in the comics, where the comics aren't like R-rated and a lot of their material. I mean, he's even appeared in like the cartoons, right? And he's worked.
Spectacular Spider-Man, right?
Yeah. In Ultimate Spider-Man too. So like, does it have to be PG? No. I mean, well, does it have to be R? No. But the best version of Deadpool would be R, and I want the best version, right?
Yeah.
It's like if you're making a Wolverine movie, you can make a good Wolverine that isn't R, but the best Wolverine movie would be R, and I want the best. So it's the same with these other properties.
So it seems that you seem to be a lot more open to them now, whereas when,
I don't know about a
stuff like
lot, but I mean, I know it's not gonna be. I'll put it that way. And I'm gonna watch it anyway, so. You want the best, but you also gotta live in reality. I don't live in that alternate universe where
Everything
Marvel,
Peter Martinez wants.
yeah, every
It's made.
perfect version of the film and TV show I want exists. I tell you, if I had control of the multiverse, that's all I'd be doing. It's like, oh shit, this perfect version of this movie exists on Earth 13365. All right, let's go check it out. So yeah.
Also, something else related to this. Evidently, we're not going to get season 2 of Loki until 2023? 2024? No, I'm sorry, 2024.
That's a pretty big wait.
Chunk.
Yeah. I assume because they're going to try and tie it into certain films. I don't know. And the pandemic, there's probably a few reasons.
It's kind of, and also right now, like, Hollywood is on strike right now.
Well, no, not yet. They might. They're on the verge. They're very close.
It's gonna happen.
I think it'll probably happen.
Anyway, that's the Marvel stuff there. Let's go ahead and talk about... Let's go ahead and talk about...
the show.
Yeah, that was the show. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in.
So, No Time to Die.
I don't know. I don't really care about any of this, generally speaking. I mean, the Daredevil stuff I'm sure is cool, but, depending on what happens, I may or may not watch it. Now, back onto the box office for No Time to Die, which is the film we'll be discussing this week in more in depth. I don't know if some people may be looking at these numbers for the film in a negative light. I don't know. But there were, some expectations in the week leading up to it that it could, be the first movie to cross $100 million opening weekend, at the domestic box office in the pandemic era. It didn't come anywhere close to that. But it's kind of a tale of two cities. The thing people have to understand about James Bond, the franchise, is, it makes its money, and most of the people that go watch it are, around the world. And so there is that one aspect. And in that regard, it has already made over $300 million worldwide. And then with here, and this has been an ongoing thing that Peter and I have been talking about in the last couple of weeks, is and I feel this will be the first time, Peter, that we'll also be mentioning, the situation with Venom the week prior and what it did. So it came in No Time to Die with $56 million, which, is a lot better than a lot of non-comic book, non-Marvel related films had been opening up, as of late. So in that regard, that is somewhat of an improvement. It was down slightly from, other openings like Skyfall and Spectre, as I'm looking at right here. I want to be hopeful in terms of what this means most for, the movies that are coming up. But we talked about how October was going to be a really fascinating month to see how all the non-Marvel stuff, because most of the stuff is non-Marvel, non-comic book, how that was going to perform, to see how, movies in general perform. And I'm not sure. I know I'm not getting the result I want off the bat. And it's really kind of bothering me with it really kind of bothers me with how, I granted, the James Bond film performed better than other movies had been as of late for it being a non-comic book, non-Marvel movie. But the week prior, Venom blew the records off everybody else and, opened with over $90 million, which continues to baffle me. I want to go to Peter first. What do you make of all this?
I think the reasons why it performed where it does kind of make sense, right? The fan base is dying. Let's be real. At least in America, I guess reportedly it does pretty huge overseas. But I assume that means the fan base, right? is younger overseas in comparison to in the colonies.
Well, here's an example, Peter. With Spectre, Spectre only made 23% of its box office in America.
Yeah, and I mean, America's usually where movies go to make most of their money, at least those kinds of films. So,
but here's the thing as well, is that here in America, there's a tumultuous anti-woke movement going on right now that's also hindering.
That has nothing to do with this.
What the fuck are you talking about? Hell no.
No, well, no, it has nothing to do with this. That's not the reason for why these numbers are the way they are. If anything, the reason for why these numbers are lower than Skyfall or Spectre is because I'm sure a significant chunk of the older demographic, which is the base of the Bond franchise, didn't want to go risk their lives. Mm-hmm. I assume, because of Delta variant and COVID. That's basically why it came in a little bit under. And just for reference sake, Spectre opened with $70 million. So it's not that far off. And I believe that's really what we're missing here, is that a large number of the base of the Bond franchise, the older people, didn't go to theaters because global pandemic, which is all but expected. So I feel if anything, that's the culprit for why it opened a little bit lower, at least here. But as far as the whole woke thing, I have never seen that have any impact on box office.
Yeah,
that's just an internet thing on Twitter.
It's internet bullshit. It has no real effect on real life. It's just, all it does is radicalize 16-year-old kids to join Nazi clubs. I don't know.
Yeah.
But so I would say, again, what is interesting is that most of it doesn't happen here. Older fan base, not only are they staying home because of COVID, but maybe some of them are also dying off. It's been 5 years since the last one. This is a very old series. I think, I don't know, it does, again, most of the fan base is older. And also, yeah, historically, it just doesn't make that much money here in the States as comparatively to Marvel or any of these other big budgeted. It makes around 60 million seems to be its sweet spot. So I actually don't think this is that big a deal.
No, I agree with you. The opening weekends, I have them here by comparison. The first one for Casino Royale, because, Craig was new, was 40 million. Quantum of Solace was 67 million. Skyfall was 88 million, and Spectre was 70 million. So it's not that far off, I feel. It's not a devastating number by any means.
No.
It's not.
When you factor in the pandemic and all that stuff, slightly disappointing, but not, it's not terrible. It's not a, bomb. People want either the narrative that a film bombed or that it was a huge success. This just seems like, it's doing good, moderately okay, box office wise. At least that's the way it seems to me.
Yeah, and just for record here, for pandemic openings in the U.S., F9, 70 million, Shang-Chi, 75.3, the 3-day, Black Widow, 80.3, and Venom 2, 90.1. Peter, how do you explain that Venom number?
I can't.
Okay.
Venom baffles the mind to me. For whatever reason, it just fucking hits a chord with people. Kyle, have you seen Venom?
Venom
Into the
2?
Yeah, Into the Carnage.
No, but I know what happens.
Venom fights Carnage.
Yeah.
Oh God, thank God. I can't explain it. It's a hit, and it is what it is. We're gonna get sequels of these till we die, it seems.
Kyle, your thoughts on so far how No Time to Die is doing?
Well, it's made half its budget overseas. I'm not sure how it's gonna be come tomorrow. Because you know me, I don't like to follow projections because projections can be wrong. But like, yeah, it sucks. It sucks that it's making that much money, especially because like this is the last goodbye of Daniel Craig. But the thing that makes me more frightened is the risks that the Broccoli's will be willing to take come next round when it comes to Bond 26. So that's the only thing that scares me a little bit, but other than that, I'm just like, I mean, it's a British property. You know, Americans never grasp European properties well here in the States, so I kind of expected it. But as far as like how little it's getting here in the States, like I thought like, oh, like another movie, let's go, let's get in action, because a lot of people are craving that. A lot of people are craving the the cinematic experience, and what better to have like one of the oldest cinematic experiences, James Bond, come into the fray. But yeah, I mean, it's whatever to borderline frightening, if that makes sense, because of the numbers.
I feel like the Broccoli shouldn't be too concerned with like the overall stuff. I think if the film ends up being making less than its predecessors like Spectre, it's because we're in a global fucking pandemic more than anything else, really. Which has also led to a key part of its constituency from going and venturing out to see this in the theater. I think really that's what it comes down to it. The other problem is, of course, as we mentioned, the fact that the core base of this franchise is late 60s, early 70s, maybe even getting into the 80s now. It's an aging franchise. And I don't know. Peter, what do you think they should do now that the Craig era is gone, for the film to have a broader appeal than just old people? I guess, what should they do?
They need to finally get back to making fun films. Forget the gritty realism and just fun spy shit, like maybe just a couple notches below fucking Kingsman. Like, if I'm gonna be real, they need to become similar to Fast and Furious. And I know that might sound sacrilegious to a lot of Bond fans, but it's not. It's just kind of going back. Just go goofy with it, right? I think
formula.
Back to formula. I think you get a young Bond, go young this time, because don't get them when they're like 45. Get them a little younger, and yeah, just bright, colorful. Go fun with the gadgets, fun with all of it, right? And just have it be a little bit lighter fare, a little bit more humor.
Like back to the Roger Moore era.
Yeah, I would say.
Could it not be argued that Spectre gave a little bit of that flavor back and it was panned and trashed because of it?
I mean,
exactly.
We haven't discussed this yet, but I think
we will. But with Spectre,
the film
I mean,
that we are going to is even more so. So it's, I don't know. But I mean, but I guess when you start this film series with Casino Royale, and it very much set a very particular tone, right? James Bond is this dark, damaged character. Like, even look at all the Bond songs. Like, every song is like, like every song is like they're on the verge of fucking tears.
2 out of 5. 2 out of 5 are like that.
Oh, 3.
No, 3 out of 5.
3 out of 5. Come on now.
The first 2 were like Rock'em Sock'em, you know?
Yeah, a little bit like that, I will admit.
And the last 3 were power ballads.
Yes, but they're very much setting a very serious. It's not that these films, the Craig era films, weren't fun and had cool gadgets and stuff like that, but they took a definitely more serious, somber tone.
They looked at what Jason Bourne was doing. They looked at what Nolan was doing with his Batman series, and they combined those 2 and threw it at the wall, and that's what you got with.
They admit after Austin Powers, they're like, we can't do that.
Yeah,
they like we've been satirized too hard in the public eye. Like, we gotta reinvent Bond, and they did. With the Craig era, I think it's finally time, and I think the audience is ready for it, to go back and hit the fun button a little bit.
But there is such thing as doing too fun, like Die Another Day and all that stuff.
As long as it's not a shit film, I think you can do it. I don't know. 2
things that have already been confirmed. Again, as far as how much stock you put into what an actor says, but that would be with Idris Elba saying he's not going to do it. Don't even ask me. And then also the Broccoli's have said that they're not going to go for a woman. So that's 2 things that people were like, I guess, fan casting, like, that have been like completely shut down at this point.
I can tell you this: he's gonna be black. I think they're that's the big thing. He's not going to be white.
I don't think they're doing that.
I think they're going to do. You don't think so?
I think they're going to go young. But I think they're going to go young. I don't think they're ready to go there yet.
You really don't? Oh my god.
No, I don't think they're going to do that.
Okay. For sure, I think they're going to
everything
go young.
Everything I know is they're very traditionalist people.
Oof. Just call them racists, why don't you?
I'm not saying that.
Maybe I will. Okay. I can see them going young. I think they're gonna go young, and yeah, I think they should go more fun. Have more fun with it.
2 people's names that have been brought up that fit that description would be early to mid 30s. Richard Madden or Josh O'Connor were 2 names that I've heard being thrown out there.
I think they need some color.
I agree. I'm throwing John Boyega's name out in the mix.
He'd be cool.
It's not just like he knows how to do action. He is charismatic. Like, he does have charisma. So I think he could pull off a good James Bond. Plus, his fucking initials are JB, like James Bond himself. So, I mean, what more can you ask for? You know? But yeah. Are you guys ready to talk about Bond?
So, Peter, do you have Letterboxd open?
I am about to.
Go ahead and get that open.
All right, it's open.
So we'll see how the film does ultimately, but I'm really curious to see what the final number is for No Time to Die.
It's 007.
All right, No Time to Die. Directed by Cary Joji Fukunaga.
Fukunaga, I think. Because there's a Cary Fukunaga and then also a Cary Fukunaga.
Thanks for making fun of my accent, you racist bigot. Okay. The mission that changes everything begins. Bond has left active service and is enjoying a tranquil life in Jamaica. His peace is short-lived when his old friend Felix Leiter from the CIA turns up asking for help. The mission to rescue a kidnapped scientist turns out to be far more treacherous than expected, leading Bond onto the trail of a mysterious villain armed with dangerous new technology. Cast: Daniel Craig, Rami Malek, Leigh Seydoux, Lashana Lynch, Ralph Fiennes,
Raffaele Fiennes.
Fiennes. Okay. Jeffrey Wright.
Wait, what was that? What was that even a word? What was that? It was just
You know what? I'm tired of listening to you bigots, so I'm tossing it back to you.
Leah Seydoux, and that was and there's also either Ralph Fiennes or Ray Fiennes. He goes by either or. So. I think the best way to go about this, and kind of how we approached it with Midnight Mass, is to kind of, establish our history with this franchise. Who wants to go first? And what they've thought of, James Bond as a series, and then also the Daniel Craig movies.
For avid listeners of this lovely, lovely series called Red Spotlight Entertainment, I need not tell you the whole story. Basically, I saw Casino Royale 2006 and my life was changed forever. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I've been a Bond fan for 15 years now. And it's still growing. And honestly, one of my favorite franchises. In fact, probably my favorite film franchise after Star Wars.
For me, I get the completely opposite approach. I have no love for the franchise whatsoever. There's no connection to any of the characters or the actors. There's nothing about it that gets me any kind of, passionate. And after the movies end, I forget they even happened in the first place. But when I'm watching them, they're very good films. And the ones that I've seen, I believe I've seen Goldfinger. That was the only old one that I have seen. And then I saw Casino Royale, Skyfall, Inspector. And generally speaking, when it comes to the Craig era films, I've enjoyed them quite a bit. I really like Skyfall. I really like Casino Royale, Skyfall. But the one that I enjoyed the most, and I guess this will get me crucified, would be Spectre. Up until before we get to this movie and everything. So that's kind of where I am with them.
My unique history with Bond is, I think the first one I saw was Casino Royale. As a kid, it had been rented in my house. I woke up early one Saturday morning, saw that it was there. I was like, "Oh, I've heard of James Bond. I've heard of him as a character." And I was like, "He's a spy. That's fun." I put it in, got about an hour. It was fucking boring, so I took it out, and I didn't watch it much, and I never really watched any of the James Bond films. I didn't hate them. I just never cared. I understood Bond, James Bond. I got it. I get it. Okay. Never the biggest fan, but never a hater either, necessarily.
Never say never again.
Okay. Yeah. And this is where I get to my nightmare. I'd seen a couple by adulthood, but then I had the unfortunate reality of meeting Mr. Lira here, and he loved the film so much that he wanted to do a podcast with me, and so I was like, okay, well, we can talk about them. That's cool. I like watching movies. All right, let's all right. And I've seen every single fucking Bond film in existence. And then he just dipped out on the fucking podcast, and now I have decades of trivia in my head of Bond and nowhere to put it. It just exists in my head now. Yeah. So, but there are a few that I do genuinely enjoy, mostly from the Craig era, and like Mr. Alexis, I don't understand the hate for Spectre. Like, people fucking hate that film, like, hate it, and I don't.
They hate it with a fucking passion. For
Yeah.
a bit of a context here, I think that was the first Bond movie you and I saw together as friends, and we experienced it together in the theater. And I had a really good time with the movie.
I had so much fun.
And there was so many great elements to it. And then immediately after walking out, people were like hating it. And I feel like that hate has grown as the years have gone by, where people just like despise that film. And I think the reasons for why, all the different reasons you hear, make me so confused, not just about what they think that movie was going for, but it just makes me so confused about what people think James Bond even is. Because to me, James Bond is just a spy, and he saves the world, and there are cartoonish villains, and that kind of that's
sex.
what, yeah, and that's kind of what it is. And but people bring this other kind of They bring like a Luke Skywalker-esque level of passion to it that I don't understand, and makes me so confused. And one of the things that you mentioned to me, Peter, is that when you look at the reactions of No Time to Die, they were very weird.
Yeah. A lot of the reviews and stuff, and it's like, okay, I didn't understand it. I thought you were going to bring up how I compared Spectre to The Last Jedi, in that, like, I'm obsessed with Star Wars, and I love The Last Jedi, and, like, yeah, right? I've never brought it up before, but because I'm obsessed with that world and that series and stuff, like, that discussion I get, right? As far as, like, liking it versus not liking it. With here, even though I've seen every Bond film, I'm not, like, a Bond fanatic. So, like, when people say, like, they hate Spectre, I don't necessarily have, like, an emotional reaction. I'm just confused, like, genuinely confused. Like, okay, isn't this Bond though? Like, isn't this the point? Okay, whatever, you know. And then the confusion spreads even wider when reading reviews, and it's just kind of like, like, I kind of have this idea of what Bond is in my head, and again, I've seen every fucking film. Like, yeah. And I don't know, the way people view the franchise kind of throws me off, right? But I don't have that, like, emotional trigger, I guess, in the same way with Star Wars. So it's just more confusion. So that's why I was really interested to see this one, to go, like, I don't know how I'm gonna feel about it, because I don't know how people digest this series as a whole. I seem to just not be on the same wavelength. So yeah, but that brings us to the film, right?
Yeah. As a longtime fan of the series, I didn't get the hate for Spectre either, because the thing is that a lot of people, they wanted the same things that I did when it came to that movie. They wanted Daniel Craig to go against Blofeld in some capacity, and we got that, you know, and it was amazing. Even when they announced the whole, you know, the title was going to be Spectre, they were like, oh, okay, so that means Blofeld is coming in, you know. And I was absolutely thrilled with the fact that Christoph Waltz was playing, you know, him, because I think he's a terrific actor, and I think he would play, you know, Blofeld amazingly. And, you know, I wanted some of that cheesiness back. I wanted some gadgets to be back, you know, and I wanted, you know, some of the one-liners to be back as well, you know, and we got that. We got that. And not only that, but I think that, you know, Spectre is probably, like, one of the most, like, for me, aside from Skyfall, one of the most, like, cinematically pleasing films to look at, you know, in terms of, like, the James Bond movies. So, like, I never got the hate for Spectre, you know, even as a longtime James Bond fan, and it just completely blows my mind. A lot of people were, like, saying, like, it's totally different from the Daniel Craig movies. Yes, but also, you know, with Spectre, that was kind of the point. They wanted to dip into some of the classic Bondisms, you know, and that's what a lot of people were wanting, and yet, you know, so it just comes to show that a lot of people don't know what they want. You know, even when it comes to like Star Wars and stuff like that, it's just you get that impression, you know, that people just don't know what they want. And like I think this is another like instance where like No Time to Die, you know, with all the reaction you have going on with it. And honestly, I felt like it was the most Bondian movie of all of the Craig movies.
Yeah, a little bit more on this. As much as I don't understand the hate for Spectre, I also don't understand the adoration for Skyfall.
Right?
Skyfall is really good. But people, even, you know, looking on film Twitter and everything, it's like, oh man, Skyfall should have like been a contender for Best Picture. And I'm like, what?
Here's also a point of contention that I think is really, really confusing. Okay, so part of the reason why a lot of people don't like Spectre is because like, oh, you know, they had to tie it with the other Craig movies and all that stuff. And I'm like, wait a minute, aren't you guys the same people that are bitch, you know, that, you know, suck Marvel's dick for the same exact reason? You know, I mean, the first two Bond movies that Craig did are back-to-back companion pieces to one another, you know, so I don't understand how they were like, oh, so everything had to tie back with one another. That's another big complaint about Spectre. And I just don't get it. I was like, but these same people are completely, you know, head over heels over Kevin Feige doing the same thing over there at Marvel. So I just don't understand. People are so fucking confusing.
Anything more to add on this particular thing, Peter?
No. I think I said my piece.
Okay. So who wants to start off with their thoughts on this new movie, No Time to Die?
Kyle, do you want to go last?
Yeah.
Okay. I was waiting for that. I'll go first. I think it might.
Thank you for getting that out of the way with Peter.
Okay. It might be my favorite Bond film. It's really good. I think it's really, really. I think it's pretty darn amazing from the start till the Cuba sequence. The Cuba stuff was so much fun. I really enjoyed that. After that, at that point, it gets a little wonky, a little long in the nail, or whatever the fuck it's called. And I think this film would. It would really help if you shave off like 20 fucking minutes. I will say, I think it's like 2 hours and 40 minutes. And the story of James Bond, I'm sorry, it never warrants that long a length. It's because at the end of the day, it always boils down to bad guy has super weapon that will destroy the world. We get it. Mm-hmm. We got it. Good. Right. Like, it does not need that much padding out to make it try to seem something it's not, because that's all it is. So I do feel it should have been shortened somehow by at least 20 minutes. But like, I thought it was shot beautifully. I like how James Bond is actually a character here, how he like grows and changes and has like emotional shit going on with other characters. Like, what? That's a novel idea, right? The action is great. The music is really good, because it would piss me off in the other Bond films how they'd really just blue ball you with the Bond music. But here it's like, no, like cool shit's happening, like durner, like they lay in the classic Bond themes, and I'm like, that fucking do it. That's so much fun. That's why I'm here, you know? And yeah, overall, it's really enjoyable. I think it might be the best Craig Bond film, and it might be my favorite one. But you got to remember, I don't have the same reverence for Casino Royale or Skyfall. So if you're one of those people who's like worships Skyfall and Casino Royale, I'm not. I think they're very good. They are like they are very good, but I'm not one of those people that like worships them the way a lot of Bond fans do. So
one of them.
no,
At
it's
least
not
with
just
one of
you.
them.
It really is all of them. Like it's a widely known thing that that's the way a lot of them feel. But yeah, no, I enjoyed it. Yeah.
Yeah, similarly with you, I'm not. I don't have any reverence for Casino Royale or Skyfall. I think what you said was right on the money. They're very good, but do I care? No. And I also don't care if people feel like, oh well, this guy doesn't really get. Well, whatever. That's what your whole thing. And of course, what do I know? I had Spectre as my favorite before this. So with that being said, you're completely right. I feel like this is easily, to me, the best of the Bond movies ever. It's the best of the Bond movies that I've seen, and maybe, probably in large part because what you speak to, Peter, is that to give James Bond an actual character here, and he grows, and there's an arc here, and a great completion to it that just makes it so much more interesting. I noted several times that, with this film, more so than within Skyfall or Spectre or Casino Royale, I found myself actually giving a shit about what's going on with these characters and with James Bond and being emotionally moved several times all the way throughout. So by that standard, it's not really any kind of contest like which one I prefer. It's this one pretty easily. And that's with, of course, some issues, but yeah, I really, really like this movie. It's a great ensemble. It's a fun ensemble at that. You can tell that these actors have been together for a while. And Craig is just, it is going to be difficult to replace him, only because he lives and breathes his character. The cinematography is just beyond beautiful. I mentioned to you, Peter, that, Fukunaga really stole Damien Chazelle's cinematographer. And you can tell the movie is just beautiful to look at. Some of the close-ups in particular of Daniel Craig, are just breathtaking. And the action, I feel, in large part speaks for itself, but it is just with the action and the score, it harkens back to this classic style of movie making, but with the sensibilities of the modern day era. It's kind of every reason why I love movies. And this is one of the ones where I will say, if you're going to watch this, go to the theater and watch this movie. 'Cause you feel every bit of it. There are, you said, when we get from the beginning to Cuba, it is electric. Just the energy. It does slow down, considerably, to get some plot mechanizations getting through, get the gang, I guess, back together to an extent. I know some people have used the term drag consistently when it comes to the pace. What I will say about that is it is a very long movie, and you feel that. Especially when you get to the last act, and it's like, God damn, we still have at least a half hour of this to go to. However, I don't want to say that it dragged for me, because it has this connotation that, well, when something is dragging, I kind of lose interest. There wasn't a single point in the movie where I lost interest. Like, I was in this movie. And so from that standpoint, I don't necessarily mind, but I do agree that we could have used some editing to maybe shorten it up just a bit, some 10 minutes here, 15 minutes there. I guess to me, the biggest problem with the movie is Rami Malek. For how long it is, 2 hours and 45 minutes, that actor gets nothing. There's no thought given to that character for being more than what he is, a plot device. And the performance was a complete misfire. I don't understand the appeal of that actor. I never have. And I think this performance, he was going something that probably is a misfire, akin to Jared Leto as the Joker. Yeah.
Wow, harsh words from Mr. Malik. I absolutely adore this film. The Craig era is the best era of James Bond by far. the dips and valleys that this character has gone through, from the loss of Vesper and Casino Royale to, just like the continuous loss that he continuously suffers throughout the entire course of his run. It's nice to have like some sort of semblance of, any kind of happiness that is going on with his life, and it's nice to see a little bit of that. I love for Daniel Craig, honestly, the man can go no wrong, can do no wrong, and his acting chops, his chemistry with Léa Seydoux is amazing. Léa Seydoux, my God, like she ups the ante from her performance in Spectre, I this is the first time I've ever sobbed in a Disney movie. You see how I'm used to saying that.
That's your default because that's all you see in a theater or the Disney film. So to not see a Disney movie in theater is rare for you.
Yeah,
but
that's very rare.
But anyway, gentlemen, I think it's this is the first time I've ever sobbed in a Bond film, and I just like, it feels like this is a great finale to the greatness that is Daniel Craig, or should I say Commander Craig now, because the Royal Navy gave him an honorary commander because it's Commander Bond in the series. So Rami Malek I think is really good, underutilized, I think, like you said, but he did do some things for me that I was like, oh, okay. Lashana, I mean, they're just amazing. The what we as in the Bond community calls it the Scooby Gang. I think the Scooby Gang was really, really, really fun this time around. Ben, Naomi, and Rafay and Roy Kinnear. I think we're amazing. All of them were amazing. This is amazing. Hans Zimmer, I could actually like tell that it was a score this time instead of just bonds. So I think Hans Zimmer, I'm like, where'd you pull that one out of your ass? And that's coming from a hardcore Hans Zimmer fan over here, so Billie Eilish's number, fantastic. Everything I think was fantastic. I have I don't have any complaints. You're gonna hear a lot of positivity on this corner, so yeah.
Bullshit, you hated it.
Sure, Peter, sure. So spoilers? Yes?
I guess so, yeah.
Okay, I'm going to start with the big one. Big one, right off the bat. Okay?
Bond is gay.
Bond is gay. He is super duper duper gay. No. This is the movie where this is firsts in the series. This is the first Bond film where Bond has a family, and this is the first Bond film where he dies.
Yeah.
I think those are two huge takeaways from this movie. However, me and the Bond community are concerned as well of the legacy of this movie, and I was talking to Alexis about this when we were coming home from the movie theater, that instead of being known as the one where James Bond has a family, which is like it should be the biggest thing, the biggest legacy of this movie, it's going to be known as people point to that movie and say that is the movie where James Bond dies.
Yeah, that's the big thing, right? At first I thought the big thing was going to be that, oh, he had a kid. But no, the big thing is that he died. The one where James Bond dies. I guess this is like what do you call it? Controversial for some people.
Mm-hmm.
Not for me. I liked it. Like, he had a kid. Oh, he died. Like, I don't know. Like, James Bond felt like a character here more so than he usually ever is. And that worked really well for me. But then also, you also understand that, like, once this Bond is done and gone, like, they're gonna get another Bond, right? Like, so
Yeah.
you might as well finish this story how you want to finish it, right? Like, well, we're basically gonna reboot this shit anyway, so let's tell the story that we actually want to tell, and not just, I don't know, like, handcuff ourselves for what, right? Because people are mad that it's not the exact same film they've been watching for 40, 50
Yeah, so
years.
like with that, I say fuck those people.
The only thing
but
that
that's the real fans.
But the only thing that bums me out though is the fact that that in like the fashion of the old movies, that the core crew isn't gonna come back, like Moneypenny, Q, M, and
Do you think? That's probably true, huh?
yeah, because that's been a through line throughout the whole entire series, and I thought that that's what they were going for, but I guess not now that his story is over.
Because but I mean, no, they can still come back. I mean, M was in the goofiest fuck, what's his name? Not this M, the other M. What's her
Judi
name?
Dench?
Judi Dench. She was in those goofiest fuck, other Bond films.
In the Pierce Brosnan
Yeah,
movie.
she was
But
in
here's the thing.
crazy goofy ass fuck Pierce Brosnan films, but then she perfectly made the jump to these films, and she still remained M. So why couldn't these characters do that?
But here's the thing. Judi Dench already garnered that, that juxtaposition of like she is M. Like Judi
And
Dench
Ralph
is M.
Fiennes
has not had enough films to claim that. He's only had 2 films of him as M. Yes, he made his debut in Skyfall, but he was only M in 2 films out of the 5.
I don't think this matters. I don't care either way, to be quite frank with you, when it comes to that group. They could bring them back and they'll just be different versions, or they don't. I guess I prefer for them not to come back, because you close out this story, just start all over from scratch. That would seem to make the most sense to me.
I would be okay with that.
Yeah, I wouldn't care, really, but that's just where it is. To what you were saying, Peter, before, about, the decision to, kill Bond off and people complaining. As I say, fuck people who feel like, oh, well, they killed him off, and that's why I don't like this movie, and that's why it'll be known as this, as if it was a bad thing. As usual, here we have a bold choice, being made in a long-standing franchise, and fans just like, how dare you change the thing that I wanted to be exactly the same as all the other ones? And, I hate that story and I hate those people. I think this is a very bold choice, and I think it worked for the character and it worked for the movie, and I think it was all the better for it. Yeah, I just think it's ridiculous to think that, people, James Bond didn't die. Like, there'll be more movies with a different James Bond, like, because that's, I don't understand the anger that is thrown around just because, oh, he died and everything.
For me, that's where I'm coming from. Not in terms of like anger, because I appreciated the fact that they killed off Bond, But the thing is that, that means that there's no wiggle.
But you know why I appreciated it? Because it's different. It's something new.
Yes.
In a franchise that has 25 movies.
But the fact that the core cast won't be returning next time around,
What about that?
I've grown attached to them. So anyway, yeah, I really loved seeing domestic James Bond. I love the fact that he prepared his daughter breakfast, and just like little normal things like that. I think really, I would say boldly, even though I love Casino Royale, brought Bond a little bit more further into reality because of that, because he was more domesticated. I don't know how you guys feel about that.
How do you feel about it, Alexis?
I think it was part of why I connected more to him as a character in this movie than the others, because he gets to be a person,
right?
Mm-hmm.
So
I like that.
I like how, as a whole, these Bond films kind of tell just a narrative.
They do, yeah.
Like it's one thing. Although I saw some people on Twitter point this out, and it is pretty funny how they kind of jumped the gun, and like the first two films are about a very green, very new spy just learning the ropes, and then Skyfall is about this old man who's been in it for too long, and it's like, what the fuck? We go directly from
did we skip a movie?
Yeah,
or two?
I felt like we skipped a couple movies because it goes directly into that with Skyfall.
You see, if you play the video game 007 Legends,
you get the story in between.
Daniel Craig's James Bond pretty much relives the old missions from the old James Bond movies. He meets Pussy Galore. He meets Goldfinger. He meets all these characters. Mind you, it's completely stupid, and I'm making a stupid point.
The only thing missing from these Craig films was the character Pussy Galore.
I'm not going to comment on that name. I can't believe that actually exists. The thing with this ending also is just like, it is also a big fuck you to people who, adhere to canon and everything, and it's also a big fuck you to this, like, to what you said, Peter, this Disney Plus mentality of stories never have to end. No, it gave us an ending, and it was a great ending at that. And it kind of proves why stories need to have endings, great endings, to have value. Not to be continuously open-ending or setting up what's next. So, I really did appreciate that.
It's also very fitting that that they completely start over after the 25th. You're a quarter away from 100, So I think, like, just cutting off the umbilical cord at 25, I think is really a fascinating choice as well. Wait, okay. So what? You guys didn't feel anything for Safin and all that stuff, played by Rami Malek, no?
Well, one of the things that happened was we were so far into the film, and then we met him for the first time, and I realized, holy shit, we just met the villain for the first time. We have so much movie left, and I was like, Jesus fuck, and that really that kind of dominated my thinking when we first saw him. But I really thought they were gonna like dive into him as a character, and they don't. He plays villain man, right? Like there's kind of inklings about like he wants revenge, but like, okay, what's your great plan? I will take over the world, right? Like they really should have gave him a mustache so that he could twirl it, because that's what he was as a villain. And I feel like if you're gonna do that, at least make him cooler, like give him a metal arm. I don't know, like do something. I feel like all the James Bond film villains up until this point were built up to be very personal in the ways that they got to him. Well, I guess he did get to him in a pretty personal way. But like in the ways that they were connected, like between him and his villains. And here,
Are you talking about
there
in
is
the
no
Craig,
connection.
Are you talking about here in the Craig era, right?
yeah, within the Craig era.
Yeah, Peter's right. There is no connection here. I mean, there were and from the narrative standpoint, from the writing aspect, you know, how these villains are interweaved into the, you know, the character in and of himself, you know, with Bond. But then also in terms of the performance aspect, I don't think it just can't compare to Mads Mikkelsen, Javier Bardem, or even Christoph Waltz. It just doesn't.
Yeah, it's not. And they just don't really give him much, right? Like I'm.
No, he's just a boring creep.
Yeah, it's kind of it. I don't hate. I don't hate him in the way that Alexis does. You know, he does a serviceable job. I think he's a serviceable villain. It's just kind of, I don't know. They didn't give him much. Like they built him up a lot. That's the other thing. They built him up too much. There was so much build up, and then when you finally get to him, it's like, oh, okay. Don't have this much fucking build up. Then just show him.
Yeah. Serviceable villains are a dime a dozen these days, but most of the time I can overlook it if you have a good enough performance. If you have a good enough actor in the role, I can come out at the other end of it and like, you know what? Because of the actor, I ended up liking you, or I can tolerate you. But it's like I was telling this to Peter. I far preferred, even though again I don't care about the movie whatsoever, but I far preferred Ray Winstone in Black Widow. Because he was fucking Ray Winstone, and he brought some kind of character to that performance.
Yeah, I could just see him go, I'm Ray Winstone. I'm fucking kill you, Bond. Like I can imagine that. And you know, maybe they would have gave him some, I don't know, made him visually look cool. But yeah, here it's just kind of like, I don't know.
Rami Malek is just overrated. He is. And you know, it's like Peter has these actors that he will, you know, throw out there and say that they're overrated. Well, I have mine as well.
I know.
And Malik never did it for me.
I guess for me, it's hard to pin it on him when I feel like they gave him nothing.
Well, I can't pin it on him because yes, you're right. They gave him nothing, but on top of that, the performance was just, it felt like it belonged in a different movie.
Yeah.
It didn't fit with what was going on there.
I see. I think it was serviceable. I don't think it was that bad or that different. I think it was serviceable. It's like, yes, you are playing.
You're right. It's serviceable, but it's terrible
Bond
compared to everything else. The film is
everything else is
by.
a lot better. Yeah.
There's such a gap in, I would say, quality.
Yeah.
Because I think far and away, that is the weakest aspect of the movie is the villain.
Especially because, like, okay, this is the guy that killed Spectre. Technically, he killed Blofeld.
And Blofeld.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like, there should be really something to this guy, right? Like holy
there should be
shit.
weight of some kind.
Especially because, again, they build him up throughout the entire fucking movie. Like, who is this guy? Oh my god, how is he doing this? Mumble, 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 mumble. And then he's just kind of, I don't know. He's Freddie Mercury.
Ugh, don't remind me.
You know, honestly, like I was joking with my dad about it, but I'm like, wouldn't it be funny? Because you know how all Bond villains, they have their monologues, right? And it would be funny. Is this the real life or is this just fantasy, Mr. Bond? Caught in a landslide and no escape from reality. I mean, might as well do that and lean into that ridiculousness. But yeah, God, I love his lair though. Like his lair was freaking fantastic. Like finally,
beautiful, yeah.
In the Daniel Craig era, we have a proper lair.
Yeah, it did. It did remind me of those old James Bond films where you get to the lair and they're like sneaking around, and it's like hundreds of people and this, random island, and it's like, how is this even, how are they affording this? What the fuck?
Yeah.
Yeah, it did feel very classic James Bond with that whole shit.
And like the thing is that like that scene that he was like talking to him and Bond was talking with Safin, and did it ring a bell with you with what it looked like? What was very reminiscent of?
Dr. No?
Yeah, it was. They pretty much ripped off Dr. No.
They should have just called him Dr. No, because at least you have that nostalgia bit in there. I was waiting for it. I thought he was going to be Dr. No.
Here's why. They wanted to course correct because they hated the fact that a lot of movie-going audiences hated the fact that they were like, oh, Blofeld, who is that? So if you don't know the series well, Dr. No would be a unknown name to a lot of people, and thus like not have that kind of impact. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but at least I would remember his name. I can't tell you his name. What was his name?
Lucifer Safin.
Okay. I didn't know it. Yeah,
I like how, first of all, I like how brutal Daniel. I think this is the most brutal James Bond has ever been, because remember when he was fighting him at the final scene and he freaking straight up broke his arm?
Oh yeah, he fucked him up.
Yeah, you never see James Bond fuck up a villain like that. And so I like that. I like how some of the allusions that they had to the books, because that was something that Fleming Bond would do no problem. I like the reference to "You Only Live Twice," where in the book where Bond says to Blofeld, Blofeld, die," and that was the final words that James Bond said to Blofeld when in the book. So I like that. I like the fact that if you pay attention a little bit, Safin's heart is on the opposite side of where it should be. Anatomically, that is. And so his heart, it's supposed to be on the left side, but it's actually on the right side. And when remember when Madeline shot him, he shot him in the heart, but he didn't die because his heart's
on the other side.
Yeah, it's playing allusion and homage to that bit, and the villain that had that was Dr. No, and the Poison Garden was in You Only Live Twice in the book, and you have all these allusions and references, even to some of Roger Moore films when you had what's his Billy Magnuson, I don't know what his name is.
Yeah, Billy Madison.
The character's name? I don't know.
Logan Ash. There we go. That's his name. That's
the American name.
Yeah. I like the allusion to For Your Eyes Only. Remember when he pushed that guy off the cliff in the car?
Oh, yeah. I get. Okay, good.
Yeah. I like that allusion. I liked in the title sequence, they alluded to Dr. No and Thunderball.
They should have just called him fucking Dr. No.
The title was there, No Time to Die, and plus the type of mask that he wore at the beginning of the movie.
That's why I thought, because Dr. No he had that fucking mask, right?
No, but here's the thing. In Japanese culture, you know what that mask is called?
A
no.
Oh, for fuck's sake. Hey, yeah. You know what? In my mind, he's just Dr. No. It fucking changes anything. Because Dr. No is the same way. He's like, I will control everyone. Ha ha ha. I just fucking call him Dr. No. Whatever. But no, yeah, visually, I think we can all agree, stunning.
Oh, yeah.
Very good.
Stunning on every level.
Yeah.
There are actual sets in here. All of the action sequences landed. The opening one was a thrill. I mean, we can rave about the Cuba one with Ana de Armas was sensational. I'm a big fan of the one shot, with Craig going up the stairs, taking out all of the henchmen while trying to get to the silo system.
I love the one-liner. He never gets Craig never got one-liners. in his run. And the fact that he had one and it freaking worked was when he blew up Cyclops. I'm going to call him Cyclops because that's
that's his name. He calls him Cyclops in the movie.
Yeah, also another allusion to James Bond past, with the characters names, like Jaws, and all that stuff. I like that. But also the fact that, that he was like, the electromagnetic watch blew up his eye, and he had to say, I had to show them your new watch, Q. It really blew their mind, And the fact that they play like the little last refrain of the James Bond theme was actually like, it was the creme de la creme, of reasons why I really, really enjoyed this movie. What do we think about Billie Eilish's song in the title sequence? Because that's a big thing in the Bond pantheon.
Well, I am Gen Z, so I'm required to like it.
Oh, because of Billie Eilish? Okay.
It's good. You know what? It fits really well with because I joked that I knew it was in for a long movie when 45 minutes in and we're barely getting to the fucking opening title sequence. But it does fit perfectly with because there's a very sort of heartbreaking moment and then boom, right into the music. And it's about betrayal and love, and then it works really well within the film. And then it comes back. They kind of use it as their love theme throughout the film, which I think is cool. I think that really works.
Yeah, that's the thing that, if you really work in your main theme song into the movie, which a lot of the Craig movies have been missing, the fact that they really went for it this time around, I think was a really nice additional bonus.
Hans Zimmer outdid himself here. It's the best he's been in a while, where it didn't just feel like wah on top of wahs, He cranked out those themes. He had those motifs in there. And it's just also just bombastic too. It felt like a classic movie score.
It did. I loved it. And I think it's because he wasn't afraid to just lean into those classic Bond themes. And it's they fucking work for a reason.
We have All the Time in the World from Louis Armstrong from On Her Majesty's Secret Service, and the way that they wrap that in and kind of become their it kind of becomes their mantra, we have all the time of the world, kind of thing. And I really enjoyed that as well. The only time that the musical callback was really weird was when they played the On Her Majesty's theme. The dun 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 dun, when M and Bond were talking out by the Thames.
Yeah,
I think that was. I guess
really
it was
weird. A little weird, but I don't know. For the most part, it worked. And just to talk about Billie Eilish's song, the best Bond themes are the themes that incorporate the title. I want to hear you sing the title. To me, that's, I don't know why, that's half the fun of the fucking theme song. So the fact that she does sing, "There's just no time to die," okay, perfect, you win. Yeah. Good.
Do you give Carly Simon's "Nobody Does It Better" a pass? Because they do reference the title in that song.
No, but I give "Live and Let Die" a pass because it's a great fucking song.
It is a great song. Paul McCartney and the Wings always does it well. What did you think of the song, Alexis?
Everything Peter said.
Everything that Peter said? Okay. Yeah. A little back to Rami Malek, I think that the stunt casting of him is a little dated, though.
What do you mean stunt? I don't know what you mean.
Stunt casting, because they casted him fresh off of his Oscar win for Bohemian Rhapsody. That's when they did that.
Oh, I don't know if that's stunt casting. I guess you're saying when he was hot and now he's not so hot.
And now he's not hot. He's barely in the echelon of pop culture now.
I don't think he's fallen that hard.
You thought I was?
Yeah, I know. It's you're just who no one gives a fuck about Rami Malek anymore. I don't think it's
It's that bad.
Like, no.
I think so. I mean, what else has he done?
I don't know, but actors, I just don't think it's that bad. He's probably done other stuff. I feel like people still know who the fuck Rami Malek is. I loved Ana de Armas. She was so cool.
I want more of her.
I do, but that's not me asking for a spinoff. That just means she left you wanting more. I thought she was so much fun.
No, that whole sequence was, like I mentioned before, it was sensational. And with her, it's just a reminder of what an exciting presence she is.
Yeah.
In any movie she's in. And like I told Kyle, it kind of reminds me of the versatility of Emily Blunt's repertoire, basically. And that is Armas is just, picking different kinds of roles and just crushing all of them. Really, she is.
No, she is. She's doing great. I'm trying to think what else.
A little Knives Out reunion too. Not bad.
That's true. Q.
I get why she was only there for that one scene, but I don't know where. There probably wasn't any reason for her to be in the movie any longer. There wasn't, but I kind of wish she was, just to get more of her and Craig together. They had great chemistry bouncing off each other.
Oh, they did.
Really
it was so much fun.
To see another movie with them too, I think would be fantastic.
Like, oh my god, like the scene where it's like they just finished shooting up the place and then they're about to escape, but he pours them both a drink first.
Yes.
And they're like, all right, like, let's go do this. Like, oh, it's so much fun. It's like, all that stuff to me is like, okay, this is why I come to see a Bond film. They're dressed to the nines, fancy party, exotic locations, music's popping.
That Cuba Spectre party was phenomenal. I love the fact that Blofeld was kind of spiritually there through the eye. It's a very Blofeld thing to do, But yeah, the lavish party, them, dressed head to toe, all fancy like. I think is just what I love about James Bond, is that, because of that, extravagant, escapism that James Bond is allowed to do, I think that like it adds to that flavor that's really good and what drew me to James Bond in the first place.
But there's also like a fun back and forth dynamic with the new 007 and like them going back and forth with like stealing the operative, the scientist that they're trying to escape with. So yeah, you also have like that fun aspect added into the mix.
The scientist himself was like a really fun character off to the side,
Yeah.
I thought,
but with
I thought there would have been a point in the movie where he would have turned to the side of good. But the fact that he
went full racist. What are you talking about?
The fact that that he was racist, that he was just bad in general, I think just was absolutely amazing. And also, like, they kind of say the title in the movie, and that's how I feel about with the titles as well. You got to say the title of the movie, in the thing, and it's like there's only so many movies that they've done that with. But
I would say that the film really did a lot of, for me. Of course, I can't speak to a lot of other people who have their hardline opinions, but I would venture to say the film earned a lot of goodwill by really having a strong female supporting cast and just these wonderful, like, Lea Seydoux, Ana de Armas, Lashana Lynch, just kicking ass. That was great to see.
Oh yeah.
And then, of course, Bond not being a womanizer. I mean, a rapist also helps.
He's still a womanizer. He's just not a rapist this time.
Yeah.
Like,
he respects
I'll put
boundaries.
it this way. Sean Connery would not have taken a no from Ana de Armas when they were in that closet.
Oh, no. That would have been another story altogether.
Mm-hmm.
I.e., look at Thunderball.
Oh, God. Oh, don't look
and
at
I think
Thunderball.
the movie, this film can really, what it did with these particular female characters can kind of help turn the narrative, turn the tide of like the long-standing history of misogyny and
can I,
with the film and the franchise of James Bond.
Can I talk to you guys about something real quick? Okay, so I don't know what it was in me, but I was really peeved off when I was scrolling through Instagram one fine day, and I saw an ad for No Time to Die. You know, Lashana Lynch sporting the new Omega Seamaster watch, which I think is absolutely a fantastic watch, one of my Grail watches. But anyway, I saw an ad for that watch, and boy, the comments were unkind, and I went at it. I went at it on Instagram, and even like two other people were in the fight as well. I commented to everybody on the comment thing. Boys, did the spy girl hurt your little masculinity? And then I had one comment say, "Get lost, bootlicker." One person said, "LMFAO, no thanks, you lost a fan here." Let me think. Somebody mocked the fact that I have my pronouns on Instagram and put he/him.
Isn't that what Gina Carano did about a year ago? She was mocking people's pronouns on social media. Remember that?
Yeah.
One of the things that she did.
Yeah.
American hero Gina Carano.
Somebody said a long way of saying that they don't like woke culture is not really, just a bit sad pandering in the waning days of an exhausted franchise where they milk it for just a little bit more by trying to appeal to the Disney, Marvel, Star Wars fans that lack a fundamental understanding of weaponized nostalgia wrapped in modern fill-in-the-blank equality-centric marketing.
God damn.
Okay, another person said,
but James Bond is literally just a male fantasy. Like, I never mind, keep going.
Okay, somebody was kind of on my side and said, they just don't get it. She's not the new Bond, but the new 007, but what's there to be angry about? Somebody said maybe yours and comment to like fragile masculinity. Let me see what else. There was somebody, hold on, let me get to it. Let me see.
I will say, even if she was the new Bond, I would have no issue with that.
No, actually, like one of my wish fulfillment things of happening at the end of this movie was the fact that she took on the name James Bond and did the gun barrel herself.
Oh,
and
God.
I would have been like badass. That would have been completely badass, and I would have loved that. But yeah, I mean, just like other things, and it'll go on for a long time because that fight went on for like 2 days. But yeah, I mean, it's just one of those things that I'm just like, really, guys.
Yeah, I for one happen to think equality is a good thing. Just putting that out there. Because one of those comments was like, making it seem as if that was a problem. Which, if you think equality is a problem, I don't care what you have to say anymore.
But I guess it's like that. The one comment was even defending you, where it's like they're stupid. Like, she doesn't even take over Bond. I'm so much like I don't like doing that because it's. I hate how these people are so stupid that you're put on the defense of kind of giving into their narrative of, if this happened, it would be bad, right? So like, whenever they attack like, oh, woke culture, I don't like saying like, this isn't woke culture. I just like saying, you know what, woke culture is good, so get fucked. Like, I'd rather say that than try and say that it's not, because it's not, even if it's not actually woke culture. To me, arguing with them that it isn't is giving into their narrative that if it was, it would be bad. So I rather just say, even, you know what? If you're right, fucking good.
Oh, two more comments I wanna add. Somebody, oh boy, mind you, it's this person's words, not mine. It's just unrealistic. What does she weigh? 90 pounds? If you want to use a girl for 007, then get one that fits the part, just like Justin
Cheetah?
Bieber would not
Oh.
make a good Bond.
Justin Bieber would make a perfect Bond. What are you talking about? I thought he was going to say just like Gina Carano.
Oh no, Justin Bieber. Okay. One person like nailed it on the head and said it's probably a little bit more than her gender that bothers them. Which I agree.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't know. I think it's literally just, it is the gender. Like, yeah, it's a women thing with them. I don't know.
Women
but,
thing
yeah.
and a race thing.
I mean, but
well.
this kind of stuff that happens, it's just kind of become a mainstay prevalent thing of just modern culture, especially film.
Ever since Captain Marvel, really, it's been
I think
like,
it blew up with The Last Jedi. I think it became a fucking industry with The Last Jedi. And now
You know
that
what?
industry has looked for anything they can latch onto since then to keep the money rolling in, to keep that outrage culture moving.
Yeah, because that's ultimately how these particular channels. That's really the objective of these channels. It's not really to, speak to these issues. They're making these things up. In some cases, they do believe it, but a lot of them, they realize this is their industry. This is what they do, and that oftentimes is really what a lot of conservative media personalities are. Is they're bad faith actors. They're actors, like what you said the other week. Alex Jones is an actor.
Yeah.
They're phonies and they rip people off. And what does that say about the right wing? Well, I think that's pretty self-evident.
Yeah, but like there's just the unabashed hate towards Lashana Lynch I find really disarming, and I mean, it's it's to be expected, but honestly, like I feel bad, and because honestly, like watching her in the movie, itself, I adored Nomi. I think she was an amazing character. I loved, seeing her go toe to toe with James Bond, and actually James Bond, like much like Michelle Yeoh in Tomorrow Never Dies. Like Bond has met her, his match.
I mean, just like let's say, aside from that, you're right. Yes, I think Lashana Lynch was a great addition to the cast. I think she's a great character, and she kicked ass, and I loved it. I think she was and when she partnered up with Bond at the end of the movie, it was great. That as far as the movie's concerned, that's where it ends. But this whole thing about why it is why it's being accused of wokeism and what's ultimately their problem. These men online who, like to think of this franchise and all franchises as their own, in trying to understand their perspective, they don't like the fact that they as men no longer get to claim ownership of all the leading roles in Hollywood. And that whenever a male character is, pushed to the side to focus on a female character, that means that they are personally victimized and that men are being persecuted. And that is so full of shit to say that, throughout all of the history of time and space, that you seriously are going to promote this idea that men as a group are under siege and that they need any kind of defense. You are woefully ignorant and beyond idiotic that words can't fully describe. Aside from being misogynistic and disgusting and full of shit.
And racist, don't forget racist. Because it's just amazing how they didn't go after Leia Seydoux. They didn't go after
she's
Ana
a Bond
de
girl.
Armas.
Exactly.
They
she's
went
in her place.
Oh God.
But no, that's true. Peter's not saying that. He's picking up what these illegitimate people feel.
Yeah. All right. I thoroughly, I love this movie. I cried twice when I see Craig, my James Bond, die, you know, and I'm just like, ugh, it's really over. It's really over, you know, and it's a really bittersweet film in that regard for me because of that. And yeah, Daniel Craig, nobody does it better. Nobody does it better, you know, and I think Craig, you know, to me, he is James Bond, you know, he forever is going to be my James Bond. Like people in the 60s, you know, thought Sean Connery was their Bond, or Roger Moore was their Bond in the 70s, and, you know, so on, you know, and I feel that way when it comes to Daniel Craig. Daniel Craig is my Bond, like, and I'm gonna miss him. I'm gonna very much miss him, but I can't wait to see what Eon Productions does with Bond going forward. Yeah, the hunt for the next James Bond is next year, so we're gonna see what happens. And I'll for sure talk about it. Until then, Mr. Martinez, we have a podcast to finish.
All I have to say is the feminists emasculated and then killed Luke Skywalker right in front of you. And then they emasculated and killed James Bond right in front of you. What will it take before you people wake up?
Are you suggesting that I am a sheeple?
Yes, a beta male soy boy cuck libtard.
Okay. Oh, not to offend you guys as well, but when I'm sitting down, I tend to cross my legs as well.
No, that does not surprise me in the least.
Yeah, I've noticed that. No, I noticed that because you kind of take up a lot of space, you know, when one person's sitting next to you.
He is a disgusting man, always taking up space that doesn't belong to him.
Mm-hmm.
I try not to manspread.
Spread those cheeks. Anyways, go ahead, Alexis.
Oh, God.
I think the movie's great. My favorite James Bond film. I think it's one of the best movies of the year. And it shows a level of... it shows a caliber of filmmaking I wish other films like this would take, but don't, and suffer as a result of it. It was refreshing to see, you know, beautiful, luscious scenes full of life, full of, you know, performances and a score that didn't feel half-assed, that didn't feel like an afterthought, that actually felt like there was purpose to it and care to it, that didn't look like it was overly CGI, and ultimately had a big ending and a profound one at that. Go watch it. I love movies, and this movie reminded me why they're so great to experience them on the big screen.
It reminded me how beautifully made and intimate blockbusters can be.
Yes.
So yeah, go check it out on the big screen. It's a good one.
Yeah, and I think we're good to wrap it up here. Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much for listening to our show. As a reminder, catch us next week when we talk about Halloween Kills. Michael Myers comes back, and let's see if he gets Laurie Strode this time. We can't wait to see how that turns out. And stick around for To the Table, as well as Fantasy Fair Podcast. And here on Red Spotlight. Keep it here, stay under our spotlight, and we'll see you next time. Bye.